Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is August, and welcome back to Youth Pastor Reacts. We are finally back to making videos. I've had an absolutely insanely crazy month. It's been super fun, but I've been super busy, so I do apologize for the lack of uploads on this channel. But we're back. We are back. It feels so good to be back, making more videos for you guys, making more reactions. I really did miss it. And yeah, we are back reacting to the Beyond the Lighted Stage documentary. We recently did part one, and we're just going to be picking up right where we left off. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get back into it.
Caress of Steel was not well received by the record company. It was not well received by our agents.
Everything took an awful downturn, and it was off the crest of a wave too, because we were so in love with what we'd done. We were so into it and so proud of it. When Caress of Steel pretty much met a deaf ear, the ensuing tour, we were opening acts on smaller tours and playing backwater clubs, and we called it at the time the Down the Tubes tour.
You would find yourself in places like Battle Creek, Michigan, playing to 20 people, wondering why you were still continuing. Everybody thought that it was over, that audiences were becoming smaller and smaller, so we thought the end was near.
At that time, Ted Nugent was also not breaking.
Have I listened to Caress of Steel? It sounds familiar. I don't think I've reacted to it yet. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to react to Caress of Steel. It looks like that's kind of where their career took a dip, and I'd be interested in hearing what it sounded like.
So the two of us played a lot of small clubs together. It was a pretty depressing tour. We were kind of lost, figured that we would probably not survive to see another tour. And the record company was really not happy with us, and our management was trying to defend us.
I remember going to Chicago and meeting with Mercury Records to not give up on the band, to not drop the band. I nodded to every request they had. They wanted singles, more commercial. Yeah, sure. I'm sure that's what they're gonna do.
That was a terrible winter. I had no money. I was sleeping on a friend's couch. Things couldn't have been bleaker, really. The record company, everybody was, oh, we're gonna have to be more commercial here and think about some singles, and just leaning on us at our weakest.
We talked about how we would rather go down fighting than try to make the kind of record they wanted us to make. We made 2112 figuring everyone would hate it, but we were gonna go out in a blaze of glory.
We all decided that we would rather go back to our jobs, working on a farm or working as a plumber's mate for my dad or whatever, than give in and just be something that everybody else wants us to be.
We did summon that strength of character to say, no, we won't do that. We're doing it.
That takes some courage and some serious confidence to be like, no, we're not going to change who we are. You know what I mean? We're not going to give in to what you guys want us to look like or what you want us to sound like, but we're going to be authentic to ourselves. We're going to be who we really are. And I think that's what really just pushed them forward, especially from this moment. This is like a defining moment where they have a choice, right? Are they going to give in to the world, or are they going to stand on who they are? That is so encouraging, dude. That's awesome.
Just to be.
We did summon that strength of character to say, no, we won't do that. We're doing it our way, and if this is the last hurrah, fine. Back to the farm equipment dealership for me. It was a big no. No, we're not doing any of that. No, you can't tell us what to do, and no, we don't care.
I love that. I still gotta listen to this 2112.
When the record company heard a full side concept, like the first side of 2112, people panicked. They thought, wow, we're screwed.
They didn't get it. This was like, I ordered salmon and they brought me a steak. What the hell is this?
The nature of the story itself that evolved in 2112, of course, was the individual against the mass. And that album did communicate and reach people on a level that just blossomed outward by the classic form of word of mouth. Obviously, the opening 20-minute piece did not get played on the radio.
20 minutes. 20 with the opening 20-minute piece. Is that 2112? Is it a song or an album? I have it on my reaction list, so I'll be getting to it shortly, but 2112, I think, is a 20-minute song. if I have that right, which is kind of insane, especially I would imagine for the radio at that time. That's probably why it wasn't getting played. But if it's this concept of an individual versus the masses, that's like crazy relatable, I guess, like always rooting for the underdog in a sense. So I can see why it popped off.
Piece did not get played on the radio.
I can't wait to share this new wonder. Oh, the people will all see its light. Let them all make their own music. The breeze space my name on this night.
Suddenly it was like, you got to check this band out. And, you know, the first thing that struck you was the level of musicianship was just insane.
I remember vividly, I was in my bedroom with my neighbor and he brought over 2112. It was just something
Okay, so those are the songs. Rush 2112 is 20 minutes and 36 seconds long. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy. That's just the song. Dang. And that's, what, is that only side 1 too? Overture 432, The Temple of Syrinx 213, Discovery 330, Presentation, Oracle the Dream, Lokoi 223. Okay, these are more normal length songs, but the first, I'm really curious about 2112. I think they also have a comic book version of that, which I think I will be getting to shortly. I'm very excited for that.
never heard before. Just the fact that it was a three-piece ripping, and they were pulling off this stuff that sounded like a huge prog rock production.
It took me.
Oh, that dude's from Tool. Yo, that's another band that I really want to get into. I've never heard Tool before, so if you guys want to see some Tool reactions, let me know down in the comments.
Three-piece ripping, and they were pulling off this stuff that sounded like a huge prog rock production.
It took me on a journey instantly, and I looked at the album cover and saw that there were only 3 of them, and they were wearing some funky clothes. But I thought, how can 3 guys make such a sound?
I remember the keyboard sound, and all of a sudden it kicked in, and it was just like a whole new experience to music, something I'd never heard before. The drumming was incredible. The bass playing was incredible. That was it. That's what did it for me, man. I was hooked on Rush ever since then.
There was a moment in my life, and I willingly admit this, that I actually knew how to play the entire side. I knew how to play 2112 all the way down. I knew every note, every moment. And I think back now, I think, how long did I have to fucking learn that? You know, I must have sat in the bedroom for a year to learn that fucking song.
I was into the story. You know, I read the back and it was dedicated to The Fountainhead, the book. And I went right out and bought The Fountainhead and read it. I mean, not too many bands make a 12-year-old go out and buy The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand.
Oh, so it's based off a book. The Fountainhead. That sounds interesting. I might read that, or I might check it out at least.
God damn, this rock band's got me all fired up about literature.
As it turned out, the concept record went through the roof. And they were right.
2112 really bought us our independence. The record company has never been in on a single session that we've ever done. In fact, when we're done, it's all packaged and they accept it the way it is. They have no choice.
That somehow was the plateau of Untouchable. Nobody thought they had the right anymore. So yeah, 2112 was absolutely the passepartout, you know, the skeleton key that opened that door that we could close behind us. Okay, from now on, we do what we want.
Attention, all planets of the Solar Federation. Attention, all planets of the Solar Federation. Attention, all planets of the Solar Federation. We have assumed control. We have assumed control.
Is it like a space type song?
Assumed control.
Dude, I'm so pumped to check it out.
Most critics ignored 2112 or treated Rush, I think, very, very negatively. I mean, what do critics hate? Generally, they hate heavy metal and they hate progressive music.
I would say probably most of the reviews were bad. I don't know if it was discouraging to read bad press. I mean, after a while, it's like, oh, yeah, whatever. Usually it's critics back then, particularly, just trying to be cool and hip. So they would you know, write all sorts of things.
What you own is your own kingdom.
Rush's humorless and limited interest in literary themes and meager sense of melody made for one dull concert. Wow. I feel like people say things that they don't really mean just to get the publicity, just to get people to check out, you know, their paper or their magazine or whatever it is. I don't think they really mean that. How can you go to a Rush concert and think that it's dull? Like, are you really paying attention? I don't think so. Deafening, dull, depressing, and dated. That's insane. The songs are a cancerous network of haphazard key and time signature changes. That's insane, dude. Who is writing this? Smug, hypocritical, pseudo-symbolic drivel. Rush's flagrantly derivative music was neither interesting nor listenable. Are you kidding? It's not even listenable. That's actually wild that they got so much hate coming out with this. Man, that's insane. So it's like everyone loved the song, right? I mean, this song was the song that really picked them up. It gave them the not the motivation, but the momentum, right, that they needed to propel themselves into what was going to be an amazing career. But all of the journalists were like, oh, this is horrible, this is awful. But the people were loving it, which is so interesting. I feel like that happens today as well. A rat caught in a ringer? Are you kidding?
Getty's soaring voice is described in some rather unkind ways.
A hamster in overdrive.
The dead howling in Hades.
Mickey Mouse on helium.
Strangling a hamster.
The cat being chased out the door with a blowtorch up its ass.
There was constant insults.
Wow.
That way. But it was never like that with the audiences.
We found that we had a growing audience that didn't care about any of that press stuff, that they were into the band and they liked what we were trying to do, and we were a little more thoughtful about the way we wrote music and certainly how we wrote lyrics and how we put it all together. And I'd rather read fan reviews than some guy who always hated us and didn't stay for half the show.
Critically, we were designated terminally unhip, and that prevents you from getting mainstream press.
Dang.
Our songs were too long to go on mainstream radio. So what the hell are we?
Every once in a while you have an artist that is very sophisticated, but somehow in their sophistication they don't alienate the common person. They're really a people's band. And the great hole in their career has been that they've never been truly accepted by the intelligentsia. But with a band like Rush, you can't say, well, they can't play, they can't sing. So what was it? Well, they're nerdy, or they just don't fit in a neat box.
The one constant with Rush throughout the decades is that it has been difficult to fit them into any kind of definition. Their music was hard rock, but at the same time it was orchestral. The melodies were simple, but at the same time complex. Nobody could ever really put their finger on exactly what they were. I think the fashion that was associated with it defied definition as well.
We were never very good at the whole fashion image thing. Let's face it, we didn't have a clue. We desperately just wanted to wear jeans and t-shirts, but were raised in a period that said that's not okay. So we looked for some way of standing out in the crowd. I remember we were in San Francisco and we're staying in the Japanese part of town. So we found all these kind of kimonos and robes. We said, hey, why don't we try these? So that began the period of the absurdly prophetic robes.
That's funny.
And the men who hold high places must be the ones who start
Such a good song.
to mold a new reality closer to the heart, closer to the heart. Blacksmith and the artist reflected in their art. They forge their creativity closer to the heart. Yes, closer to the heart.
These were the salad days because we were transitioning and we could feel it. The world was expanding for us, starting to record in England, starting to get success in England, and to go over there and to actually have a song on the charts and play Hammersmith Odeon was really gratifying because all of our heroes were English rock musicians. So that gave us a tremendous amount of confidence.
Records progressed, the palette got bigger and bigger. Neil was constantly changing and adding to his drum kit, and we had more choice of guitars and acoustic guitars. Bass pedals, the keyboards developed every time we went into the studio. Ged was staying on top of that. The first time I worked with the band, it was a three-piece. I think we may have had a cowbell.
Oh man, that sound.
Held within the pleasure dome, decreed by Kubla Khan, to taste my bitter triumph as a man, immortal man. Nevermore shall I return, escape these caves of ice, for I have dined on honeydew and drunk the milk of paradise.
Still don't understand how they play those double neck guitars. Is it like two different instruments, or is it? I really don't understand it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to my brain. In fact, of like how they play that, it must be like two different guitars. I mean, they must sound different at least. But man, the insane talent to be able to do that. And they both have it too.
You know what really helped us get out of that robe period was touring with UFO. They made fun of us relentlessly, and they would hold up signs and make fun of our lyrics, and I would go up to my microphone and there'd be a pair of furry slippers nailed to the stage beside my mic, and they used to call me Glee, and guys would be at the side telling me, "It goes perfect with your robe, Glee." It was good for us because, you know, you go on stage thinking maybe there has to be some other thing, but in the end, it is always back to the music for us.
These songs are so good.
Hemispheres was the album that broke the camel's back in terms of long songs. The Hemisphere side of that album was incredibly complex, both thematically and
Oh yeah, 18 minutes. 18 minutes? I didn't realize Hemispheres were so long. I mean, they're telling a story, so it makes sense. I think part 1 and part 2 are probably extremely long, but they're so good, man. I'm so glad I also like listened to a lot of their music before reacting to this documentary because I feel like I understand them a lot more.
Your side of that album was incredibly complex, both thematically and structurally.
When now we world was young, struggle like the ancients must be, and the gods of love and reason sought to learn to rule the fate of man.
We went to a little farmhouse in Wales and wrote all that music, arranged it, learned how to play it. It was so ambitious and so demanding, so experimental, all of that.
It was quite manic, and our hours became later and later and later, and it just kind of went around so that we were going to bed at noon and we were getting up at 7 o'clock and having breakfast then and then working through the night to the morning, unending, with no time off.
Even the shorter songs on that record, like La Villa Strangiato, were really hard. And of course, we were bound and determined to record La Villa Strangiato live in one take.
It was so complicated and went through so many different mood and time signature changes, it would needed to have been charted out in order to keep track of where you were at any given point.
I think we spent 11 days trying to record the bed track only. And
once we finally had to admit defeat, we had to do it in 3 parts.
So beautiful.
That one kind of slow, open soul that Alex plays, the way he built that up had a huge impression on me because he was creating a mood by playing very, very sparsely and just slowly amping up the intensity. I just thought that was the greatest thing in terms of lead guitar dynamics and phrasing. I see them as the high priests of conceptual metal. Big influence. Huge.
Like, just his guitar playing takes you on such a journey. Like, just listening to it, like with no other instruments, with no lyrics going on, just listening to his guitar playing takes you on such a journey. It starts out slow and then it builds and it's like, oh, what's going on? And your imagination's just free to run wild. It's beautiful.
Probably the hardest song I ever learned how to play was La Via Stringata. The drumming it takes everything you got to get through it.
That was the benchmark of drumming when I was a kid. I could play YYZ, but can you play La Via Stringata?
We had written material that was really a little beyond us, considering our level of musicianship at the time. And that was the thing about Rush. We were always overreaching.
When you listen to early Rush, I mean, it was like the riffs were simpler. It got more complex as it kept going. With the arrangements, it would be so long. You know, it'd be like the boys would be up there going, we did write this, didn't we? You know, it's like, what part of the song are we in?
If you could learn those songs, that was a stepping stone to just about everything you needed to know. If you could play those songs with some proficiency, you could play pretty much anything else.
Just eerily precise. Everything was just right on the nuggets. Like, I bet if you went in with a computer, Neil Peart would probably be right on the beat to, like, an atom. Or at least that's how it sounds when you're listening with the headphones. You're like, oh, he's not even human.
Yeah.
Geddy Lee is still my favorite bass player. And be like, wow, that guy who's shredding the bass is also singing and playing the keyboards with his feet and hands. And he would move his microphone a lot with his nose, which was, he actually figured a way to use it. If it weren't for the nose, I don't think he could have done the keyboards and bass and singing. I really don't. I think the nose was what enabled him to get the microphone where he needed to be. He has a big nose. Props to the nose.
We knew at the time, you know, we were overreaching ourselves, and we agreed among ourselves in 1978 when we finished Hemispheres, we're not doing this again. You know, we're not making this kind of record again. We knew that was the end of that era of the epics.
You've been touring now for how many years?
Well, professionally in the United States and around the world about 5 years.
About 5 years. How many concerts do you average a year?
Oh, about 200.
Jeez.
200 concerts a year for 5 years. How long can you keep that?
As long as we can. As long as we're still standing.
We were working all the time. I remember at one point we counted 17 one-nighters in a row. We were getting fried and getting stupid, not taking care of ourselves, just burning out.
It's a lot of work.
We didn't like what we were becoming as people. In my personal life, I was getting alienated from my wife. We were just starting to have kids. And once you start introducing children into your life, you can't be so selfish. You just can't.
I think we all cherish the fact that we're pretty normal guys. I got married when I was young. I had a family early. I introduced Geddy's wife to him when we were teenagers. Family was the most important thing to me in my life.
We were trying to remember music is just one of the things we had chosen to do with our lives, not everything. If we'd kept going like that, we would have crashed. Something started to break. And I think the heaviness of Hemispheres made us want to run away from that kind of album. So we ran from Hemispheres straight into Spirit of Radio.
Oh, Spirit of Radio is so good. I did just want to say props to these guys, like major props to these guys. Being family guys, being married men, that, you know, that's almost unheard of in the metal rock space. You know what I mean? Like, to be a rock star is to be, you know, sleeping around with a lot of people and, you know, just kind of on the road all the time and whatever. So props to these guys, because you really don't hear about that, you know, that kind of lifestyle a lot. You know, it's not super popularized among this industry. So major props to these guys. There it is, La Studio.
Permanent Waves was a joy to make. We were in Canada, you know, our families were close. That's when we discovered the studio, and the songs just came together. I mean, just boom, boom, boom.
Okay, the new album. There are a number of new things on this album, new approaches to the album. Tell me what's new about it.
You tell them.
Basically, its newness derives from experiments that I guess we've conducted over the last couple of albums through Hemispheres and Farewell to Kings. We were experimenting with a lot of new instruments and sounds and rhythmic approaches and so on. This time we found ways to put all those directions into a single stream, and consequently I think the album probably has a more direct feel to it.
The whole music industry is going primitive, new wave, minimal rock and roll. Do you care?
Some bands have gone back to basics kind of thing, but those are the bands that can't do anything but play basics. But all the really interesting new wave bands seem to be developing and progressing into more interesting styles.
Who do you listen to at home?
All kinds of people. Recently, the Talking Heads and on the turntable a lot.
The Police. I was a huge fan of The Police and Ultravox and all these new English bands.
Guys, I've heard of The Police. I'm like so not cultured when it comes to music. If you want me to react to The Police, leave a comment. Leave a comment, because I've heard about them. I don't think I've ever heard any of their music though. There's so many amazing bands that I'm just so unaware of. So leave a comment if you want to see that.
I loved them. It became a part of our sensibility. Permanent Wave still had a couple of longer songs on it, but The Spirit of Radio was the emblematic song of that period. And the mix of sounds in it, the approach, electronic music and reggae, that's all the stuff I was listening to.
For the words of the prophets were written on the studio wall.
They seem to have that knack of being able to use time signatures at will and yet make them feel seamless. If you're changing time signatures and your audience aren't really aware of it, then you've got something special.
Rush finds a real interesting way of sort of drawing a straight line through the song, whether it's melodically or rhythmically. When you put together the sound of the band being so recognized and their ability to make sure that there's a lifeline for people out there that can't quite tap their foot to an odd time signature, that makes what Rush does genius when it comes to still being able to be played on the radio.
Bunch of news, yeah.
Each one's life a novel no one else has read, even joined in bonds of love. We link to one another by such slender threads.
I think Permanent Waves was, in a way, the most important stepping stone, because just like Caress of Steel's to 2112, there would be no moving pictures without Permanent Waves first.
As I define it, that's when we became us. I think Rush was born with moving pictures, really.
Tom Sawyer, yo, this is where it all started, guys. Tom Sawyer was the first song I ever reacted to from Rush. It all started here, dude.
I think Rush was born with moving pictures,
man.
really.
A modern day warrior, mean stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean pride.
It represents so much that we learned up to that time about songwriting, about arrangement. That's when we brought our band identity together, too. How we like to play individually and as a band at the same time. Now, when I look back on those songs, I'm glad to say to people that I will never get tired of playing Tom Sawyer, because it's always difficult to play right, you know? And anytime I do play it right, I feel good.
No, his mind is not for rent to any god or government. Always hopeful yet discontent. Those changes are permanent. Changes.
Dude, I think when I first reacted to Tom Sawyer, I mean, I was blown away, but rewatching it, it's like even more impressive. You know what I mean? Especially when you're paying attention to like the drummer. I'm always drawn to the drummers. I don't know why, but he makes it look so incredibly easy. But when Neil was saying it's insanely difficult, you know, when I play it right, it feels good. Like just looking at what he's doing, I mean, he has to be perfect. Every single like hit on those drums is in sync and melodic, and it has to be perfect. And if it's not, you're gonna pick up on that. You know what I mean? Like you'll notice anything that feels weird. But he's so insanely talented. I mean, they all are, but to be that just in sync with what you're doing takes so much time and practice. But you don't really think about that because he makes it look so easy. All of them do. They make it look so easy. You don't even realize how difficult any of what they're doing is because they're just so good at it. But if you're a musician or if you understand music or literally anything and you analyze these guys, it's just mind-blowing. Like absolutely insane what they're able to do.
Suddenly, we were on the radio everywhere that summer. Our concert audiences doubled. You could just picture it in the high school halls. You going to see Rush? Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm going. You know, we were that band that year.
We were playing 120, 130 cities in America. We were going back to places where if we were a theater act at the start of that tour, by the end of that cycle, we'd gone back to those places and we were in the arena.
Their latest release, Moving Pictures, is #1 on Toronto's album charts, and they're close to selling out an unprecedented 3 nights at the full Maple Leaf Gardens. Here's a cut from Moving Pictures, platinum after only 4 weeks of release.
Wow, platinum. So good.
Across the mountainside, a gleaming yellow hair car shoots towards me 2 lanes wide. I spin around with shrieking tires to run the deadly race. Go screaming to the valley as another joins the chase. Ride like the wind, straining the limits of machine and man. Laughing out loud with fear and hope, I've got a desperate plan. At the one-lane bridge, I leave the giant stranded at the riverside. Race back to the farm to dream with my uncle at the fireside.
Moving Pictures was a mixed blessing to me in retrospect, for me personally in my life. A lot of strange people came out of the woodwork. There was so much attention on us at that time that was transitory.
You know, generally, we were pretty private, and I think Moving Pictures was the turning point when there was a lot more pressure from fans and from people wanting a piece of you or believing they were connected to you in some other way.
There was a time when we first started getting recognized that I got a little touchy about it. And I remember I started thinking about this thing about fame and how you deal with it. That was kind of an epiphany. And I said to myself, I'm gonna go where I wanna go. And if somebody comes up to me and he's nice to me and wants an autograph, I got time for him. It's no big deal. Getty, right? That's right.
Oh my God, that's Getty? Dude, look at the phone she's using. She's got a flip phone, dude. She's like recording. Bro, those things are ancient nowadays, dude. Alex is trying to look at it. That's so funny, bro. It kind of shows like when, you know, the time period for when they were recording this documentary, man. That's so funny. Like, oh, man, I mean, those were so common back then, right? But now you never see them. So it's just, it's pretty cool to see.
Right? That's right.
Oh my God, I used to have one. I used to have one, by the way. My first real phone that like worked and everything was an iPhone. But when I was really little, my mom gave me a flip phone to like record videos and stuff. Anyway, so I do know what that is. Okay, I'm old enough to know what it is, but it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's it. No problem. That's it. One is to. One is to
Didn't mean to get in your way, sir.
Alex is so funny.
First one's to Shawnee.
Oh.
And the next one's to Troy.
Nobody cares about Alex. That's so sad, bro. Getty's getting all the autographs. Alex just eating his food. He's so uncomfortable, dude. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm crying.
And the next one's to Troy.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry.
He is so funny.
Yes, he's the leader of the group.
She leaves. You want it's too. He's the leader. She just dips. She's like, no, I'm good. That's so crazy.
You want his too? Yes, he's the leader of the group.
Oh my gosh.
I can walk around the city and get recognized from time to time. Getty more so. He's got a very distinctive look about him. But generally, people are very polite. They don't want too much from you. I understand that these are your fans that just love what you do. There's been a moment in their lives where your music has been so important to them that to take a couple of minutes and just chat, shake a hand or a hug or something, it's not a big deal.
That's
sweet. I remember when I met them, I was just struck by Geddy Lee and Lifeson's friendship. It seemed like they had a real deep bond, real playful and sort of goofy. Just seemed like there was a lot of joy there, a lot of genuine fun. And then I turned the corner and then I saw the master, Neil Peart. He had sort of a different vibe going, just as focused, but a brewing intensity, little wisps of darkness.
Neil has a real struggle with fans, and it's not a personal thing. It's a shyness thing. He's not able to be as relaxed around strangers as Alex or I am. You know, he doesn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings by it. He's not trying to be rude. He's just not comfortable.
Okay, I was the world's biggest Who fan as a kid. I never dreamed of trying to find their hotel and knocking on their door or interfering in their lives in any way. I don't understand. I love being appreciated. Being respected is awfully good. But anything beyond that just creeps me out, you know? Any sense of adulation is just, like, so wrong.
Yeah.
I got a chance to go meet Neil Peart.
I understand that, dude. And it's so weird. I forgot what kind of relationship, but it's called. But when you're watching somebody or listening to their music or something, you feel like you know them. You feel like you know that person, like you're friends. And then when you see them in person, you know, you freak out. Ah, it's this person. And you really want to go up to them, get an autograph, a picture, or whatever. But you've spent so much time watching them, but they have no idea who you are. So I understand where Neil's coming from, because it's kind of weird in that sense. I mean, everybody kind of does it, but yeah, that's it. It's an interesting thing to kind of wrestle with.
You know, any sense of adulation is just, like, so wrong.
I got a chance to go meet Neil Peart, and I got brought into a room and I started to tell him, hey, I'm the hugest fan ever, and I got sort of the Neil Peart cold shoulder, and the security guard removed me from the room. It was a weird, uncomfortable situation. I love Neil Peart even though he totally blacklisted me. But I don't understand, like, if I was Neil Peart and Ike walked in the room, I would probably want to remove me too.
Neil was great, very intense man, but very, you know, his line, I can't pretend a stranger is a long-awaited friend, that's Neil.
People have a fantasy. I don't want to trample on it, but I also don't want to live it. And people can think that I'm antisocial or a sourpuss or anything. It's really not. It doesn't make me mad. It embarrasses me. The other guys, you know, are obviously comfortable with it, and they do the meets and greets every night, and then fine. So, you know, they can do it.
I am so appreciative of our fans. I bless their hearts every single day. But they're hard to analyze as a group because they're so different. We have hardcore fans, the old fans that have been there from the beginning, and they're usually male, and they are really intense.
In the early stages, it was very young, almost 100% male. And then as the years went by, it remained 100% male.
The chicks did not really dig it, you
That's
know.
funny.
I still don't throw on Caress of Steel that often with my wife around.
Oh, dang. Hey, I got some girls, I got some women in my comment section that love Rush. So I don't think it's only men. I definitely don't. I think I've seen a good mix of both male and female, you know, loving Rush. So
Tonight is my 113th Rush show. The last time I missed a show anywhere in Europe was on the Signals tour. Tonight will be the 7th on this tour. Been to 2 in America, 1 in Canada. Did all 6 in the last UK tour. My name's Pete. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I just had my 100th show in Stockholm.
Wow. Dude, I wonder how it feels to see a band like live in concert for such a long time. Like 100 times is insane. Like I would love to see these guys one time. But 100 times or like 50 times or whatever, that's wow. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of that for sure.
Rush fans are like NASCAR fans. They ain't going anywhere, man. They're brand loyalty. They are a cult band. When you go to a Rush concert, there ain't anybody leaving until the song is over. They're waiting for their favorite part. They're nudging their friend. They're going, look, he played it perfect. They're riveted to the band.
The band have that relationship with their audience, where their audience really feel like the Rush lyrics communicate to them, make them feel like their experience is heard.
Yeah, it's relatable.
I have this memory of sitting in the basement with my mother. I actually said to her, I want to play you a song. And it was very hard to ever get my parents' attention or anything, so it was like a big deal. Will you please sit here and I want to play you a song? And I played Entree Nous, and I gave her the lyric sheet because I wanted her to understand that this song was connecting with me on some level. When I was 16 years old, I wasn't as emotionally open. I was very withdrawn. So something about that song allowed me to say, somehow this song is almost like it's written for me.
Music when you're growing up is like...
I'm going to pause it there because I want to do another part on this documentary. This is really good though. And like I said, like I've said this a lot of times when I've reacted to their music, like it's so relatable. There's so many people that are going through similar things. And they can relate to it, you know what I mean? And that's where you really get attached to a band, I feel like, is when they're kind of singing your story in a sense, right? Or a part of your story. And you can just like latch onto it almost emotionally, right? And a lot of people get that with Rush, and I completely understand. I get that with Rush. I get that with other artists as well that are some of my favorites. But it goes to show how powerful music really is. Like music isn't just, you know, oh, it's a nice tune or whatever. No, it's more than that. It attaches to us. It's strong, right? It can change our moods. We can relate to it. We can latch onto it. It can make us cry. It can move us, make us happy, upset, whatever it is. It's just so powerful. Music is so powerful, and it's such a beautiful thing. So anyways, guys, yeah, this is really good. There will be a part 3 coming up soon for this documentary because I'm enjoying watching it. We've got about less than 40 minutes left, so we'll save that for a part 3. We're at 44 minutes of this video, so anyways, yeah, this was cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking of this documentary. If you've seen it, what are your favorite parts, as well as any of the comments that I said to mention down below to some of the other artists that I haven't really seen or reacted to yet. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.